between 200,000 and 400,000 women, taken from their homes, transported across Asia in military trucks, locked in wooden buildings behind military fences, and the Japanese Imperial Army called them comfort women. That word, comfort, is one of the most deliberate lies in the history of modern warfare. Because what happened inside those buildings was not comfort. It was systematic sexual slavery, organized, documented, funded, managed by the government of Japan as official military policy. And for 50 years after the war ended, Japan looked the world in the eye and said it never happened. This was not a secret operation run by rogue soldiers. This was an institution. The Japanese Imperial Army began establishing comfort stations in the 1930s. They operated across every major theater of Japanese occupation: China, Korea, the Philippines, Burma, the Dutch East Indies, Malaya, Singapore. Wherever the Japanese military went, the comfort station system followed. Girls as young as 14 were taken. Korean girls were told they were going to factory jobs. Filipino girls were told they were going to nursing roles. Chinese girls were simply taken. And Dutch women, European prisoners of war, were placed in the system alongside Asian women. Every nationality the Japanese army occupied, its women were considered available. The recruitment was run through a combination of military orders, civilian brokers, and outright abduction. Families were deceived with official-looking documents. Contracts were placed in front of women in Japanese, a language most of them could not read, and their signatures were obtained for agreements they did not understand. Once inside the system, there was no leaving. Women were transported hundreds and sometimes thousands of miles from their homes. They had no money, no documents, no language, no way to communicate with their families. Letters were intercepted, movement was controlled, and the military bureaucracy that managed the comfort stations treated the women the same way it treated ammunition, food supplies, and military vehicles, as war material, to be allocated, managed, inspected, and disposed of. The Japanese military held regular medical inspections of the women, not to protect the women, to protect the soldiers from disease. The women were examined like equipment, rated for fitness for continued use. Financial records show that payments for the comfort station system were made to the operators and station managers, not to the women. The women received nothing, or tokens, currency valid only inside the military compound, that could not be used anywhere else. The system was profitable for everyone involved except the women inside it, and the men who designed it. War Minister Hideki Tojo, who oversaw military policy and under whose authority the comfort station expansion accelerated, and the officers throughout the command structure who implemented it, profited from a system that destroyed hundreds of thousands of lives. Hideki Tojo was convicted at the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal in 1948, but not for comfort women. He was convicted for other war crimes. The comfort station system was barely mentioned at the Tokyo Tribunal. The women were not considered important enough to feature prominently in the prosecution. The American Occupation Administration under General Douglas MacArthur prioritized rebuilding Japan as a Cold War ally over pursuing full accountability for what the comfort station system had done. The women were abandoned twice. First by the army that enslaved them, then by the peace that was supposed to free them. After the war, the survivors went home, or tried to. Many were thousands of miles from Korea or the Philippines or China. Some had no money for transport. Some walked. Some waited months for any form of repatriation. And when they finally reached home, they found that the society they had been taken from had a word for what had happened to them. That word was shame, not for the men who had enslaved them, for the women who had survived it. Korean culture, Filipino culture, Chinese culture, all had traditions that made surviving sexual violence a source of social humiliation rather than recognition. So most survivors said nothing. For decades, they married, they had children, they grew old, and they carried what had happened to them in silence. For 50 years. In 1991, a Japanese historian found military documents in a government archive. Documents that proved the Japanese Imperial Army had directly organized, funded, and managed the comfort station system. Documents that made official denial impossible. And in August 1991, a Korean woman named Kim Hak-soon did something that took more courage than any politician has shown on this issue before or since. She went public, the first Korean comfort woman to speak her name and her story on the record. She was in her 60s. She had carried the secret for 50 years. She said, "I cannot die without telling the truth." After Kim Hak-soon spoke, other women found the courage to follow. Dozens, then hundreds. Women who had spent their entire adult lives in silence suddenly speaking. On January 8, 1992, a group of Korean comfort women survivors held a demonstration outside the Japanese embassy in Seoul. They have held that demonstration every single Wednesday since. Not every month, not every year, every Wednesday, for over 30 years. It is the longest-running weekly protest in history. The women stood outside the embassy that represented the government that had enslaved them, and they demanded three things: a full official apology, legal compensation, and the truth taught in Japanese schools. Japan has issued partial statements. The 1993 Kono Statement acknowledged the issue. A 2015 agreement provided 1 billion yen and asked South Korea to stop raising the issue internationally. The survivors rejected it. They said the money was not the point. The apology was not full. The truth was not being taught. And Japan has never included the comfort women system in its standard school curriculum. The children of Japan grow up without knowing what their government did. Today, some of the survivors are still alive. Elderly women, in their 80s and 90s, still living in South Korea, the Philippines, and other parts of Asia. Some live at the House of Sharing, a communal home in South Korea established because these women had nowhere else to go. They are still testifying, still speaking to documentary makers, researchers, and journalists who visit them, still waiting for the word Japan has never officially said. Not a statement of regret, not a bilateral agreement, a full legal apology, addressed to them, by name, for what was done to them. The Wednesday demonstrations outside the Japanese embassy in Seoul continue. Some of the chairs at the front of the demonstration are now empty. The women who sat in them have died. Waiting. Now I need to ask you something directly. Did you know about this before today? Has anyone in your life ever told you this story? Because between 200,000 and 400,000 women were taken and the world moved on without ever fully reckoning with what happened to them. Drop a comment below right now. Tell me if you knew about this. Tell me if you have heard the name Comfort Women before. Tell me if someone you know has a connection to this history. And tell me where in the world you are watching from. Because this story happened across all of Asia, and its survivors and their descendants are watching from every corner of the earth right now. Share this video immediately. Someone in your life thinks Japan has fully apologized for World War II. Show them the empty chairs at the Wednesday demonstration. Show them that some of the women are still alive. Show them that the apology still has not come in the form the survivors asked for. One share puts this in front of thousands of people who have never heard what the word comfort actually meant. Follow the Odd Archive on Facebook right now so you never miss what we uncover next. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, search official The Odd Archive, and turn on notifications. Follow us on TikTok, search official The Odd Archive. Because the next story we are dropping involves a government cover-up so complete that the victims were not even allowed to be called victims for decades. And we found the documents they used to make that happen.